everyone, welcome to another video lesson with Miss Ma'am. Today, we are going to discuss about constant, variable, and algebraic expressions.
Learning algebra is a little like learning another language. Rather than using words, algebra uses symbols to make statements about things. In algebra, we often use letters to represent numbers. In this lesson, you will learn some important new vocabulary words. The first step in learning to speak algebra is learning the definition of the most commonly used words. So in this lesson, we are going to define the following words: algebraic expressions, constant, variable, coefficient, and term. Also in this lesson, we're going to identify the constant, variable, coefficient, and number of terms in algebraic expressions.
Let us first define what is an algebraic expressions. Algebraic expressions is any combination of one or more constants and variables, along with at least one mathematical operation. It is consist of one or more terms separated by plus or minus signs. So we have here the examples of algebraic expressions. So first we have x plus 2, which is separated by the plus sign. Then we have 4x minus 3. This term is separated by the minus sign. And we have 8xy squared minus 4xy plus 7, which is separated by the minus and plus sign. Now let's define what is constant and variable. So first, let's define what is variable. Variable is any letter or symbol that changes its value. So for example, we have n plus 8, the variable is n. In 3xy minus 7, the variables are x and y. So note that the variable are actually numbers in disguise. So this variable or these letters can be represented by any number. Next, we have constant. Constant is any number or symbol representing one fixed value. So if the variable is the letter, constant is the number. So let's say, for example, x plus 2. So since x is our variable, therefore 2 is our constant. In 4x minus 3, we cannot say that 4 is our constant because it has a variable x. Therefore, negative 3 is our constant. Now that you already identified what is constant and variable, let's define what is coefficients. So coefficients are the number part of the terms with variables. So coefficients has two parts. We have the numerical coefficient and the literal coefficient. So when we say numerical coefficient, this is the number part, while the literal coefficient is the letter part including its exponent. So we have 4x. The numerical coefficient is 4 and the literal coefficient is x. Next, we have 9mn. The numerical coefficient is 9 and the literal coefficient is mn. Then we have negative 12 ab squared. The numerical coefficient is negative 12, so we must copy the sign of the number. And then the literal coefficient, including its exponent, is ab squared. Since we are talking about coefficients, coefficients has a leading coefficients. So what do you mean by leading coefficients? These are the numbers written in front of the variable with the largest exponent. So for example, we have 10st squared plus 3st minus 6. So as you can see, st squared is the variable with the largest exponent, therefore 10 is our leading coefficient. So when finding the leading coefficients, we have to arrange it first into the standard form. So when we say standard form, exponents are arranged into descending order or to highest to lowest. So let's have this example. 7x squared minus 12x plus 8x cubed. So we have to arrange this first. We have 8x cubed plus 7x squared minus 12x. So since x cubed is a variable with the largest exponent, therefore 8 is our leading coefficient. Now let us define what is a term. A term is a constant, variable, or a product of two separated by plus or minus. So term is consists of your constant and variable. So let's look at this example. We have 10st squared plus 3st minus 6. So as you can see, we have plus sign and minus sign. So since term is separated by plus or minus sign, 10st squared is called a term, or the first term. 3st is another term, or we can call it a second term. Then we have negative 6 as a constant, or we can call it the third term. So we have 1, 2, 3, 3 number of terms. So next we have leading term. So leading term are also called the first term. So we have 10st squared as the leading term. Next we have 7mn plus 4. So as you can see, it is separated by the plus sign. So we have 1, 2, 2 number of terms. Then we have leading term, which is 7mn. Next we have 8st cubed plus 4st squared minus 16st minus 2. So as you can see, we have three signs here. We have plus, minus, and another minus. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 number of terms. Next, the leading term or the first term is 8st cubed. So therefore 8st cubed is the leading term of this. So let's have another example. We have the algebraic expression of 8xy squared minus 4xy plus 7. So we need to find the constant, the variables, numerical coefficient, literal coefficients, leading term, leading coefficient, and the number of terms. So let us first find the constant. Constant is a term that has no variable. So as you can see here, 7 is the only term that has no variable. Therefore, 7 is our constant. Next, let's look for its variable. Variables are the letters that can be represented by any number. So we have here two variables, the x and the y. Next, let's look for its numerical and literal coefficient. But before that, again, coefficient is a term that has constant and variable. So as you can see here, we have two coefficients, the 8xy squared and the negative 4xy. So first, we have to find the numerical and literal coefficient of 8xy squared. So when we say numerical coefficient, it is the number part, and the literal coefficient is the letter part. So numerical coefficient of 8xy squared is 8. And its literal coefficient is xy squared. Next, let's find the literal and numerical coefficient of negative 4xy. So the numerical coefficient is negative 4 and the literal coefficient is xy. Next, let's find the leading term. Leading term is also called the first term or the term that has the largest exponent. So we have here 8xy squared, since it has the largest exponent. So next is leading coefficient. So since we already have our leading term, it is easy for us to look for the leading coefficient. So leading coefficient are the numbers written in front of the variables that has the largest exponent. So we have 8. Next, let's find for the number of terms. So since it is separated by plus and minus sign, we have 1, 2, 3, 3 number of terms. Since you already know about the algebraic expressions, let us test yourself. Complete the table. Find the constant, variable, the leading term, the leading coefficient, and the number of terms of the following algebraic expressions. So if you are done, you can comment your answers in the comment section. So that is all for today. I hope you have learned something. Again, this is your Miss Mom, always here to help you solve math problems.